What do you admire most about the character of Don Shurley?
Oh wow, I love how particular he is. I think we share that in some way. Honestly, I love I admire people who master things, who or constantly in the process of trying to improve or get better at something. Like that really inspires me. So there's a lot that I connected with about the character that I won't necessarily say I identify with those things for myself per se, but they're like aspirational qualities.
His ability to evolve, his ability to listen eventually. It doesn't look like he's going to be that way at first. It doesn't look like he listens to anybody. It looks like a person who has zero chance of evolving, socially, becoming more conscious, more aware, but he does. And I think a mistake that Doc Shurley makes about him, because first impressions about anybody you meet, they're just that, they're very limited. And a mistake that Don Shurley makes is to assume at first glance, well, this guy's a brute, he's offensive, he's racist, he's loud, he's annoying, he's a pain in the ass. But what he realizes later on is that he has his own code of ethics, the man of his word, and most importantly that he listens, that he's able to change, he's able to improve. The man who left the Bronx is not the same man who comes back 2 months later. His wife is the first one to notice that, So this, yes, my character saves Mahershala's character which is his job, from some earthly predicaments. Yeah, but it's not an exaggeration to say that Doc Shurley saves Tony's soul. I mean, you know what I mean? But he doesn't do all the work. I mean, you have to do, if you're going to change, you have to do some work. You have to do some self-reflection, and he obviously does that. So I admire that even a guy like Tony Lip, this character, that he can change, that he can become more open, more understanding. In that sense, it's a story about compassion. And I like that. Compassion is a word I love because it's made of two words. It means feeling with. And the moment you can feel with or imagine what someone else might be feeling, you've got a chance to get to know that person. If you can't feel with them, it's going to be hard to get to know them.
It's what makes us human, right?
Right.
How do you define success now versus earlier in your career?
Wow, that's a good question. I think that changes depending on what stage you're at in your life. I think when there's a period when you're in your 20s and like everything is in front of you, and I think you have to sort of be actively living in this vision, and then I think if you're fortunate and some of those things begin to happen, then I think the work shifts to it being about maintenance and taking care of those things and nurturing those things, opposed to necessarily going out and trying to get things, And so I think the work shifts, but I think success is about perspective and the awareness that it's all about process. And so the work is never done. And there's something to be nurtured, there's something to be taken care of, there's something to improve on. So I think success is really just loving process, like loving the work and being fulfilled by that, opposed to thinking of it as like a state that you just get to exist in and you just sort of ride a wave. Like, no, it's like, oh, actually success is me going like, all right, I got to get up and bust my tail and do this work, and approaching life with a successful mentality of embracing the work,
What do you think the biggest change was from the first iteration of the script to the version on screen?
I'll be honest, it kind of came together like it turned out, and it's because it's a true story, and it came together quite easily in that we just followed the story, and it wasn't one of these things that you had to, like, even when we put it together, the first edit first cut, we tested it, and it was good. You know, it wasn't. We didn't struggle with it because it's real, and the hardest part of making this movie was making sure we had the right guys and getting Viggo and Mahershala, and that, you know, took some doing, took some convincing, but that once we had them, I knew we had something good.
Logistically or emotionally, what was the most challenging scene? That's a
The
big
most
question.
challenging scene, there's a scene in the rain that we had to do. I was sick that night, and so that was a challenging one, considering what the weather was like and how tired we all were and how I was feeling, you know. But that every day, there was no easy days on this, but I don't say that with any degree of like negativity. It was a harder film to shoot than what it looks. Being in the car and Viggo not being able to speak to me because he doesn't have a rear view mirror, and I'm speaking to the back of his head for periods of time. But the time we spent at the table and sort of finding a chemistry and a collaborative way of working, I think it really carried us through the film, and so we had an amazing time.
Probably the rain stuff, because we were shooting in rain, we made rain, and there's a lot of emotion in that scene. But once they come out into the rain and find that thing, then you got to dry them off and do it again. And I didn't want to keep doing. It's hard for these. It's such a serious moment that I knew I should get it in the first or second take. So it was really leading up to that, making sure Mahershala felt like he was in the right place, because I didn't want to have to do 9 of them and then dry them out, do it all over again, and get him to that place, because it's it's a rarefied air where he gets to.
Do you tend to over-communicate things like that with actors, or do you just kind of leave them to surprise? Like, we're only going to do 2 takes, we're not going to tell you that.
No, I would never tell them that. In fact, I always tell them they'll do as many takes as they want to take, because I never want to have an actor go to bed at night, or an actress go to bed at night thinking, oh, I wish I had another take, I could have done better. So I always tell them from the beginning, we're not going to stop until you're ready. But I tell them when I say, I think you got it, but do you? And they'd say 95 out of 100 times, say, okay. But sometimes they say, I think I could do better. Let's do it. I never want them to feel like they could have done better.
Growing up, who was your favorite fictional character?
My favorite fictional character growing up. Oh wow! I know I'm gonna think of a great answer as soon as I walk away from you. Oh gosh, I don't know. But I loved people who were like bigger than life. Like Muhammad Ali was bigger than life for me. So he's not fictional. He's not fictional. But in a certain way,
Legendary,
when you don't touch people, when they almost exist in a fictional way though. But I loved Batman. Growing up, like these superheroes and whatnot. But yeah, that's a tough question. I don't know.